Revealed, the incredible journey of a cowboy who risked everything to bring his lost love home. Jake McAllister stood on the porch, the weight of the Texas sun heavy on his shoulders. Dry dust clung to his boots as he stared out at the fields, feeling the pulse of the land beneath him. In the flickering twilight, memories of Lily flooded his mind, her laughter ringing out like music beneath the vast starlit sky. She had vanished that summer, leaving him tormented by unsaid words and buried regrets. The ranch was his legacy, a tether to his father and grandfather, but it felt more like a cage every passing day. The news had pulled him from the rhythm of ranch life. She was in trouble, a world away from the open plains he cherished, suffocated by financial burdens and personal heartache. Jake's gut twisted at the thought of her, caught in a turmoil he knew nothing about. Should he stay? Should he abandon the only life he'd known to fight for the woman who shaped his very existence? As he wrestled with himself, the horizon blurred into something both beautiful and bleak. Honor versus love, loyalty versus desire. The abiding voice of his grandfather echoed, reminding him of the oath he had pledged to uphold the family name. With every thought, his heart felt heavier, as the image of Lily's sun-kissed smile faded, lost amid shadows of doubt. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. He stood firm on that porch, but it felt like the ground was shifting beneath his very soul. Could he really step away from everything he'd ever known? The cattle needed tending, the fences needed mending. But how could he ignore the woman who had once held the world in her hands? Each pulse of indecision ignited both hope and anguish within him, his mind racing with what-if scenarios. Even the familiar sights, the wind whistling through the prairie grass, felt foreign now. As he began to shift his weight, Jake felt an urgent sense of despair claw at his insides. Leaving the ranch meant risking his father's memory, but staying could bury him in a silence that screamed against his yearning heart. Time slipped through his fingertips like grains of sand. Just then, Jake made his choice, adrenaline surging through him like wildfire. He would head into the chaos of the city, stepping into a world uncharted. Each step away from the porch was a reverberation of anxiety. Yet the thought of rescuing Lily pulled him forward, igniting a flame of determination.
As he faced the horizon, wrestling with the tempest inside, the undefined path loomed ominously ahead. The fading light reminded him that he might be too late. Time was running out. Every fiber of his being was taut, and the ache for resolution pulsed within him like a heartbeat demanding attention. With each passing moment, the essence of his journey sharpened into focus, threatening to unravel everything he believed. The sun dipped lower, casting an eerie glow on the unknown road before him, deeper and darker than he'd ever anticipated. In that moment, Jake realized he was teetering, not just on a decision, but on the precipice of his very heart, caught between reclaiming the love he lost and the values that had grounded him. The asphalt beneath Jake's boots shifted from the familiar grit of his ranch to an unyielding surface marked by the scars of forgotten journeys. Each step into the city was a lesson in dissonance. The cacophony of honking cars, shouting pedestrians, and distant sirens contrasted sharply with the serene rustling of prairie grass and the soft gurgle of the stream he had once played by. The city breathed a life that was alien to him, a living organism pulsing with chaos, yet he moved forward, driven by an urgency that throbbed in his chest. Jake clutched his hat tightly against the gusts of wind that whipped around him. It was a grounding force, a reminder of who he was amid the urban disarray. With every stride, countless faces blurred by, a montage of stories whose depths he could only guess. Doubt surged. What if this place swallowed him whole? What if his mission to find Lily dissipated into the fog of strangeness? He put those thoughts aside, sealing them in a box he hoped would remain shut, at least for now. He found himself on a street filled with tantalizing aromas, food carts beckoning with promises of flavors he had never considered before. Yet the hunger gnawing at his insides wasn't for food, it was for knowledge, for the search to find Lily and bring her back to the comforting embrace of Texas soil. Each breath felt charged with expectation and trepidation. This was his first step, not just into the city, but into a version of himself he had yet to discover. Navigating the streets, he soon caught sight of a cafe, its outdoor sign swaying slightly with the breeze, advertising a small gathering for locals to share their stories. Something about the sign resonated with him. The act of narrating could lead him to someone who knew of Lily's plight. Curiosity outweighed caution as he stepped inside, the environment a flurry of activity as people animatedly conversed over steaming mugs. Jake's eyes scanned the room, assessing the thrumming energy. There was urgency in his own art, yet a sense of hesitation in mingling with these strangers pulled him back momentarily. What would he say? How would he articulate the desperate search for a piece of himself he had lost?
The thought caused him to hesitate, but then he recalled the promise he had made to her, the vow that whatever distance lay in the path ahead, he would brave it. As the evening progressed, Jake's courage began to sharpen. Sharing snippets of his life, his search for Lily became a hook that drew curious ears. The warmth of engaged conversation melted some of the ice that had encased his spirit. Every anecdote he shared about their youth and dreams in Texas created an emotional connection, leading to a flood of empathy from the patrons. Then a woman leaned across the table, her eyes intent. "You said she was in trouble? Where was she last seen?" Her voice was calm yet fierce, driven by an earnestness that sparked hope in him. "Somewhere in the city. I don't know where to start," he admitted, the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily, as if the world had suddenly turned both brighter and darker. "Let's figure it out," she urged, as a small crowd began to gather around, eager to help. In that moment, Jake felt a swell of resolve. Perhaps this city, full of unexpected faces, would become a pivotal chapter in the story of his life. Little by little, he was shedding the layers of his old self, and this new camaraderie ignited an ember of confidence. He still had no concrete leads or answers, but today had brought new allies. If he was to find Lily, he would need to adapt quickly to this new world that challenged everything he believed about himself and his capabilities. The time had come to confront more than just his external obstacles. It was a collision course with his own fears of love, vulnerability, and the unknown. As night fell over the city, Jake's journey was only beginning. The twinkling lights above faded into stars he recognized, grounding him back to Texas in a sense of familiarity amid the strangeness. Flashes of doubt still lingered, but for the first time the anxiety was mingled with a taste of hope. And then it struck him. The small talk with strangers could reveal more about the city than he had anticipated, yet the challenge lay in how far he would venture outside himself to connect. Would he be able to honor the love that pushed him here, or would he succumb to old patterns of isolation? As the discussions continued, Jake caught sight of a man watching him from across the cafe, an expression of knowing etched on his face. The intensity in his eyes sent a shiver down Jake's spine. The very air around him shifted. In that moment, Jake realized he was on the brink of an encounter that could either propel him forward or bind him to fears he thought he'd left behind. The time had come to face what truly lurked in the concrete shadows. Jake's breath hitched as he locked eyes with the man, a stranger whose gaze seemed to pierce through the chaos, unearthing the doubts that had buried themselves deep within him.
The familiar heaviness of his hat felt like a shield, but even that couldn't protect him from the potent mix of curiosity and intimidation swirling in the air. "Do you know her?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady, but the quaver revealed the urgency driving him. The man offered a slight nod, a gesture that felt monumental, a lifeline floating in a tumultuous sea. The surrounding chatter faded into the background, each voice becoming a distant echo as Jake moved closer, the cafe fading from his focus. This was it, a potential bridge towards answers, a chance to connect with someone who understood. "Who are you?" Jake pressed, his heart pounding. "People call me Sam," the man replied, maintaining that steady gaze. "And I know about Lily." Hope intertwined with anxiety as Jake searched Sam's expression for promises of truth and clarity. "You do? Where is she?" The question tumbled out before he could fully process the weight it carried. "She's in a dark place, trust me," Sam said, his voice clipped and somber. "It's deeper than just finding her. You need to understand why she's there. Most people attached to the city don't see the hidden struggles around them." Jake's mind raced, confronting a new reality he hadn't anticipated. He hadn't come into the city preparing for this darker narrative, the complexities that wove Lily's story into the fabric of the urban underbelly. Memories of their carefree days intertwined with the grim implications saturating Sam's words, leaving Jake grappling with an increasing panic. What do you mean by deep struggles? Jake felt the urge to deny the possibility, to revert to the simpler narrative of a runaway girl lost in the shadows of city life. He suddenly realized that indoor cafe chatter had become a backdrop for something much bigger, the backdrop of a story laden with pain. They exploit the vulnerable here, Sam explained, his brow furrowed with concern. Lily's not the only one. You have to understand where to look, and maybe who to ask. It's not what you think. Each word from Sam struck with the weight of grim reality, thoughts spiraling as Jake absorbed the implications. Knowledge felt like a double-edged sword. It emboldened him, but also revealed the enormity of the darkness he was willingly stepping into. What do I need to do? The urgency now seeped into Jake's tone. The quest was no longer just about finding her. It was about rescuing her from an unseen peril. You can't approach this recklessly. You need a plan, Sam said, his demeanor shifting, revealing an edge of determination. And you need to trust people. Trust, the very thing that had been elusive to Jake since stepping onto the asphalt, yet it now rang like a clarion call, an invitation to dissolve the walls he had built to separate himself from others. Like you, Jake pressed, skeptical yet hopeful. I can guide you, but you'll need to be discreet and vigilant. Connections are everything here, Jake.
People won't give you the truth if they sense your fear or desperation. Doubt flickered through Jake. The serenity of the prairie grass felt worlds away, distant from this atmosphere of danger. Yet the weight of his love for Lily anchored him. This urgency wasn't just about her. It was about transforming a part of himself he had long since neglected. As they spoke, he realized that the decision before him was not merely about finding Lily. It was about whether or not he could be the man she needed him to be, one who could confront fear, forge connections, and navigate through darkness toward the light. Could he evolve into a protector instead of a passive bystander? In that moment, determination coalesced with purpose. Jake was ready to shed the old skin of isolation, but he had to take that initial plunge into the unknown. As he exchanged contact information with Sam and pledged to meet again, an unsettling shiver danced up his spine. The promise of uncovering Lily's secrets was paired with an underlying fear of what he might discover about himself, of the man he was destined to become. The group of patrons that had drawn close now faded back into their conversations, leaving behind an expectant silence that hung heavily around Jake and Sam. "What do I need to prepare for?" Jake asked, seeking clarity amid the intimidating whirlwind of change washing over him. A knowing smile danced at the corners of Sam's lips. "The truth is waiting for you in shadows that are much closer than you think." In that instant, Jake felt the weight of both anticipation and dread. This was more than a search. This was a rendezvous with the unknown, propelling him further along a path he had never envisioned taking until now. What were those shadows hiding, and would his resolve withstand the revelations they harbored? Jake stepped out of the cafe, the chill in the air matching the twist of anxiety in his gut. The concrete beneath his boots felt foreign, each footfall echoing the internal struggle amplifying within him. Words lingered in his mind. Trust people. That notion had always eluded him. He had built walls high enough to keep out the chaos of the world, yet now they felt more like a cage, trapping his potential. As he meandered through the streets, Jake sensed the vibrant city pulse around him, laughter, discord, life intertwined in a chaotic dance. But he was a stranger here, each face a reminder of the fear and determination warring inside him. With every glance, he recognized a story woven into the fabric of the city, a tapestry of struggle, resilience, and survival, exactly like Lily's existence. The urgency to find her propelled him forward, yet the advice from Sam echoed. A plan was necessary. He needed to approach the situation not just as a lover searching for his beloved, but as a strategist equipping himself to dive into the unknown depths of an unfamiliar world.
Jake found a quieter alley away from the noise and leaned against the cold brick wall, forcing his racing thoughts to slow. What did he truly know about Lily's life in this city? He realized he had only touched the surface, the innocent memories without understanding the battles she might have fought. He took out his phone. The darkness didn't just threaten her potential future, it threatened who he was and what he was willing to do. He contemplated reaching out to Sam again, but then closed the device. No, he wouldn't be reliant on others entirely. He needed to gather information himself. The shadows Sam mentioned could harbor anything from illicit deals to potential allies. Each conversation could unlock critical insights into her world, but it required bravery he had never fully committed to. His first instinct was to seek help from the only familiarity he had, friends from his past life, the tight-knit cowboy community that had once been his everything. But how could he explain that their quiet, serene life bore little relevance now? It would feel like a betrayal to unveil this layered complexity to those who had always seen him as steadfast and strong. Wasn't he simply a lost boy in a city devoid of whispers of comfort? His thoughts shifted as an unexpected determination filled him. This wasn't about betraying his roots, it was about expanding his horizons. The old Jake, who chased after sunsets and mended fences, needed to learn to navigate urban shadows with the same passion. The same diligence he had announced proudly back home could be channeled into this search. While walking, he noticed a flicker of movement in a nearby doorway. A woman was hurriedly nursing a small child as she juggled her belongings, the kind of resilience that ignited a spark within Jake. It dawned on him, every person was a potential connection leading deeper into this world. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice wavering slightly but laced with newfound resolve. "Could you help me understand this place better?" With each answer, with every path she suggested, Jake gathered clarity and courage. She spoke about community resources, shelters, and the unspoken code among those struggling, a world that mirrored the strength he cherished but was expressed differently. The sunlight dimmed, but instead of retreating into despair, it fueled Jake's ambition. No longer just a passive participant, he was ready to step further into this mosaic, one piece at a time. As the dusk settled around him, Jake felt a definitive shift. This pursuit wouldn't just be about finding Lily, but stepping into a role where he had to embrace vulnerability and genuine connection. He was shedding his previous self, merging past lessons with the present urgency. What new insights would he uncover about himself as he dived deeper into Lily's life? He was ready to embrace an unknown destiny. What unforeseen allies or adversaries awaited him in the shadows?
Would the quest truly unveil not just Lily's fate, but his own hidden depths? Jake stepped away from the warmth of the conversation with the woman, her words still fresh in his mind, shaping a new map of possibilities. Each step he took felt heavier now, laden with anticipation and a tinge of apprehension. The city lights flickered to life around him as shadows stretched, inviting him deeper into the enigma of urban existence that he was only beginning to grasp. The stories he learned from the woman, about local shelters and the hidden support systems lurking beneath the surface, had opened doors in his mind. This was a network filled with unspoken rules and mutual trust, essential tools for survival. It wasn't just about finding Lily, it was about creating connections, understanding the veins of the city that pulsed with life and complexity. Jake headed towards the nearest shelter she had mentioned. A part of him was still resistant. He wasn't cut out for asking for help, for slipping into the roles of the countless nameless souls he had encountered. But that part of him, the stubborn cowboy from the plains, felt less and less like the hero of his own story. If he wanted to find Lily, he needed to adopt a new perspective. He needed to uncover the courage to confront his own vulnerabilities. Pushing open the door to the shelter, he was enveloped by a warm ambiance, the scent of coffee and faint chatter filling the space. His heart pounded in his chest, but he forced himself to relax. This was a place where the walls that had confined him might finally tremble. As Jake approached the front desk, he introduced himself, projecting a calmness that he didn't quite feel. "Hi, I'm looking for someone," he said, his voice steadier than his racing thoughts. "A friend. Her name's Lily." He watched the attendant's face carefully, searching for any flicker of recognition. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "We see a lot of people come through here. Can you tell me more about her?" Jake hesitated for a moment, weighing how much to reveal. The instinct to overshare grappled with the equally potent fear of sounding desperate. He decided to give just enough detail without spilling the entirety of his heart. "She's been going through a rough time. I'm worried about her and just want to help." The attendant nodded, her demeanor shifting to one of understanding. She gestured for him to sit. "It's good that you're looking for her. There are resources available for people in need, but we need to get an idea of her situation. Often individuals don't reach out themselves until they feel secure." In that moment, Jake felt a weight slide off his shoulders. He had taken the first step into this world, even if it was filled with uncertainty. The shelter wasn't just a resource. It was a sanctuary where stories were woven together, a place where people transformed against the odds.
Jake found himself intrigued by the snippets of conversations floating around him. With every piece of information shared by the attendant, Jake began to construct a clearer image of Lily's struggles. The realization hit him. Understanding her world meant not just aiding her, but applying that knowledge to reshape his understanding of his own existence. He was cultivating empathy born from experience, turning his concern into actionable understanding. After a lengthy conversation, Jake walked back out into the night, feeling a shift within. The city, daunting before, now seemed illuminated by possibility, each flickering light representing a chance to connect or discover. He required courage to face the darkness, not just on behalf of Lily, but as an individual redefined through the search for his place in this chaos. But with every answer he sought, shadows loomed, casting doubt over the clarity he had gained. Who else had been searching for Lily? Were there dangers lurking in the places he had yet to explore? The world felt perilous, and Jake sensed he was a pawn in a much larger game. His next move needed to be strategic. What alliances could he forge, and who could help him navigate the hidden labyrinths of the city? As the cool night air wrapped around him like a shroud, Jake prepared himself for deeper confrontations. He would have to become more than just a seeker. He would develop into an ardent warrior for love, prepared to face whatever adversaries lay ahead. Would his next choice uncover new allies, or would it invite unforeseen peril into his life? The next turn threatened to test everything he had learned about trust and about himself. Jake felt the cool night air settle into his bones, each breath becoming a reminder of the weight of his quest. He had pushed himself into unfamiliar territory, but that fear was no longer immobilizing. It energized him, and as he strode away from the shelter, the burgeoning resolve within him began to outshine his hesitation. Navigating the labyrinthine streets, he reflected on the conversations he had absorbed, each moment he spent learning about the delicate fabric of the city. There were more stories behind every hidden face than he knew, and with them fragments of knowledge and survival instincts woven delicately together. This realization opened a new path of both personal and professional growth. If he wanted to bridge these complexities to locate Lily, he had to become a listener first, a questioner second. His mind raced as he considered whom he could approach next. He needed to cultivate relationships, not just for himself, but for Lily, who might be cowering in the shadows of fear, her voice unheard. He recalled a conversation about a community organizer who was particularly connected among the various shelters. Seeking this person not only made sense, but was the next logical move in his strategy.
As he moved toward the address sketched in his memory, Jake discovered a newfound confidence settling in his demeanor. The urgency to locate Lily was juxtaposed with his developing sense of purpose. Could a transformation bounce off each interaction, each learned lesson? He quickened his pace, excitement replacing anxiety, envisioning what this person might reveal. He arrived at a modest cafe, a small sign indicating it was also an outreach venue. The warm glow spilling from its windows illuminated faces engaged in animated discussions. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafted around him, mixing with the scent of baked goods, reminding him of a simpler time back on the ranch, when warmth enveloped everything he did. Inside, Jake observed the dynamic exchanges, people animatedly sharing their stories and survival tactics, each animated face a testament to resilience. He took a moment to shake off the stranger tension that wrapped around him, stealing his nerves. As he approached the counter, he made eye contact with a barista who seemed attuned to the needs of others. "I'm looking for someone who helps coordinate things here. Maybe Lisa?" he asked, his voice steady, though his heart pounded in their presence. The barista nodded, then signaled across the cafe to a petite woman with a clipboard in hand, weaving through tables with ease. Jake felt a rush of adrenaline. This was the chance he had sought. He approached Lisa, who was surprisingly approachable, an aura of calm reliability radiating from her. As he explained his connection to Lily, Lisa's expression shifted into quiet determination. "We've had a woman matching that description come by, but it's been a while. We do our best to guide people, but sometimes they slip through the cracks." Her gaze turned serious, assessing Jake not just as a seeker, but as someone genuinely concerned. Jake hesitated again, feeling the weight of everything he had learned collide within him. The stakes were rising with every person he spoke to. "What do you think makes someone trust enough to reach out?" he asked, genuinely hoping to unlock her perspective. He realized it was more than just finding Lily. He needed to understand how relationships were formed in this complex ecology. "Security and connection," Lisa replied, her voice soft yet firm.
People open up when they feel safe and understood. Sometimes showing vulnerability can be the strongest invitation for trust. Each word struck a chord within him. It was not just about him finding Lily. It was about how he had to evolve in this strange new world. Jake nodded, absorbing her insight. The fear of showing his own vulnerabilities began to dissipate. He could make himself a beacon of trust, someone who could encourage Willie to step into the light of safety. With newfound determination, they entered a dialogue about strategies to engage with those in need. But as he began to formulate his plan, a flicker of doubt crept back.
Would he be able to embody this newfound understanding? Could he genuinely be the big-hearted cowboy she needed him to be? Just then, a troubling thought hit him. What if someone had suddenly claimed Lily's trust before he could? As he shared more about Lily's struggles, he could see the flicker of concern in Lisa's eyes deepen. There's more going on than you realize, isn't there? That question hung in the air like a challenge. He had opened a door that could lead to revelations and setbacks alike. What other shadows lay ahead in his search for her? With every encounter, Jake sensed he was dancing closer to the edge of both discovery and danger. How could he fortify not just his resolve, but also the very connections he was striving to cultivate? He could feel the impending plunge into chaos gathering speed. Would he maintain the courage to venture even further into these steps? Or would he falter when it truly mattered? The whispered tension from Lisa's question lingered in Jake's mind like a persistent shadow. As her gaze bore into him, he sensed the weight of her intuition, a well-timed strike igniting a flicker of apprehension. What did she know about the streets that he was yet to discover? How many lives had intersected in chaotic patterns just to survive another day? These thoughts spiraled in his mind, revealing more questions than answers. He took a moment to regain his composure, allowing the cafe's warmth to wash over him. The interactions around him buzzed with life. Stories exchanged, friendships forged in adversity. Each conversation was a testament to the resilience present, yet it mirrored his profound isolation in this quest. Did he even belong in this world? "Tell me about these connections you mentioned," Jake finally responded, his voice holding a steadiness he barely felt. He was ready to listen. Lisa leaned in slightly, her demeanor shifting to one of mentorship. "Building trust is about understanding and opening up," she said. "Share your story. Make yourself human, not just a faceless searcher. Vulnerability is its own strength." Jake cringed internally. Being vulnerable was terrifying, an echo of the many mistakes he had made in the past. Yet, as he regarded the earnestness in Lisa's eyes, he realized that moments spent avoiding genuine connection would draw him further from Lily. Was his desire to rescue her so overpowering that he could learn to expose his own wounds? Drawing a deep breath, he began to share his own journey, how he and Lily had grown up together, the laughter they shared, and the dreams they sketched in the dirt of the ranch. With every word, he noticed the way Lisa engaged, her nods, the patience written in her eyes. It felt surprisingly liberating to open up about his fears, his failures, the deep-seated frustrations of feeling helpless. It was raw honesty stripped of facades, and offering of trust. "And that's where I am now," he concluded.
I need to find her because I can't bear the thought of her suffering. Lisa let the silence stretch, considering his words, before replying, "See how different that is? You've shifted from a desperate seeker to a compassionate ally. If you want to reach her, embody this openness. Others will see your heart before they see your purpose." Jake absorbed her words, grappling with the revelation that maybe this journey was not solely about finding Lily, but also about rediscovering who he was when his defenses crumbled. The clarity of that truth was like handling a fragile treasure. The prospect was exciting but daunting. "How do I apply this in practice?" Jake asked, his curiosity kindled. Lisa's guidance might be the key to uncovering the intricate web of relationships he needed to navigate. Start small. Listen to the people you meet. Learn their stories. They might have pieces of information you overlook. A connection to Lily might emerge from an unexpected source, she suggested. Jake felt a surge of determination as he thought of the countless faces that inhabited the streets. Each stranger was a potential ally, a story waiting to be told. Every backward glance at his past fell away, replaced with the urgency of what lay ahead. "Thank you for this, Lisa," he said earnestly. "But how do I approach someone in pain? What if they push back?" An understanding smile broke across her face. "Fear is a beast in itself. Respect it, yet don't let it immobilize you. Approach them with empathy. Speak gently, but be unyielding in your pursuit. You might provide the light someone's been yearning for. Just as hopeful resolve began to form within him, an eruptive crack of thunder echoed outside, shaking the cafe's windows and pulling Jake sharply back to the present. In that moment, a flicker of uncertainty. What was hiding within the storm? What dangers were lurking in the pursuit of trust and connection? And then, as the rainfall began, an idea struck him like lightning. What if revealing his vulnerability could endanger Lily even more? What if others sought to exploit the warmth he hoped to create? Just as these fears surfaced, a figure at the cafe's entrance caught his eye. A young man, drenched and frantic, scanning the room with haunted eyes. Jake's instincts kicked in. This was a potential moment, a connection point begging to be addressed amid uncertainty. But was he ready to confront danger head-on, treading the fine line between vulnerability and risk? Perhaps the answer would come with that young man's story, a doorway to a deeper understanding, or a potential threat that would challenge everything he had just discovered about himself. Jake steeled himself as the storm raged on outside, roaring an invitation into chaos. Would he step through? The young man stood in the doorway, water pooling at his feet, and Jake felt a magnetic pull toward him, a connection so visceral it almost made him forget the tempest raging outside.
Heart pounding, he debated his next move. Should he jump into the storm of conversation, or let the moment pass, clinging to the safety of his newfound vulnerability? The young man's eyes darted around the cafe, searching for something, someone, before they finally settled on Jake. There was a wild desperation in his expression, akin to a flickering candle in a dark room. It whispered of untold stories, burdens carried alone, and perhaps a piece of the puzzle that was Jake's quest for Lily. "Hey," Jake called out, his voice steady yet compassionate. "You look like you could use a place to dry off." The young man hesitated, uncertainty marring his features, before finally stepping inside. As he approached Jake's table, Jake felt his heart race. Each cautious step was a bridge forming between their disparate realities, one rooted in chaos, the other in purpose. "Thanks," the young man muttered, shivering slightly as he wiped the water from his face. "I didn't think anyone would notice me." "What's your name?" Jake asked, sensing the conversation's potential to peel back layers of doubt that encased both of them. "Evan," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper, revealing an underlying current of fear. I'm not sure I belong here." Jake saw that Evan was more than just drenched. He was drenched in sadness, too. Everett's demeanor echoed Jake's own self-doubt, sparking an urge to reach out, to help mend what was broken. This was it, the moment Lisa had nudged Jake toward, a chance to connect and unravel an isolated story. "What brings you to this cafe, Evan?" he prompted, slipping into the role Lisa had suggested. "I was hoping to find someone," Evan said, glancing around as if fearing eavesdroppers, "but I left empty-handed. Just more questions," he admitted, his voice cracking. Jake felt the heat of an invisible thread pulling tighter. "I'm looking for someone too," he confessed, aware that vulnerability could transform the conversation. "A friend. Her name is Lily." Evan's eyes widened and Jake sensed an immediate shift. "Lily? I think I might know something." The sudden rush of adrenaline coursed through Jake, threatening to drown him in a deluge of hope. "What do you know?" Evan hesitated, a flicker of indecision crossing his youthful features. "She was in a bad spot. Rumors about a dangerous crowd. I overheard something." Jake leaned in, gripping the edge of the table as if it could ground him in the unraveling revelations. "Please, just tell me." "People say she's been seen at the old warehouse by the docks. Something's happening there, something not good." A chill traced down Jake's spine. The very idea of Lily amid danger galvanized his determination. But the thought of it could also break him. This was more than just a rumor. It was tangible, a reality he had to embrace. "I'm going to find her," Jake stated, clutching his resolve like a lifeline. The weight of responsibility loomed larger by the second.
"But if she's in trouble, I need to approach this carefully." Evan nodded, sensing Jake's urgency, but also sensing his fear. "You can't do this alone. You'll need help navigating those waters." Jake grappled with the choice before him. Team up with Evan, someone whose desperate plight mirrored his own, or proceed alone into a harsh unknown. There was a flicker of potential partnership, but could he trust this stranger, with his own demons lurking in the shadows? "I'll help you," Evan said, his voice steadier now, emboldened by shared purpose. "But I have to warn you, there are things that go deeper than just rumors. If you're putting yourself out there, you need to be ready for what you might find." With a mixture of nerves and burgeoning camaraderie, Jake felt a tidal wave of possibilities crashing over him. This wasn't just about searching for Lily anymore. It was an exploration of allies and the unexpected paths that could emerge from shared pain. As the storm raged, showering the cafe with relentless rain, Jake grappled with the rising stakes. Each sentence exchanged carried the weight of their pasts, weaving a complex tapestry of newfound urgency and anticipation. Decisions loomed on the horizon, and every moment was a step deeper into a labyrinth fraught with risk. "Are you with me?" Jake asked Evan, steeling his resolve. "Always," Evan replied, determination sparking in his eyes. But as they made plans to venture into the unknown darkness, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that unseen forces lingered, watching and waiting. What shadows would they confront as they stepped into that precarious world? The choice to pursue Lily was clearer now, but it came burdened with nagging uncertainty. Jake took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever risks lay ahead. And just as they began to map out their strategy, the cafe door swung wide open once more, the storm raging in as a figure stepped inside, this time cloaked in dread, a new danger that threatened to pull them further down the rabbit hole. Jake's chest tightened as he caught sight of the newcomer, a figure hunched against the wind, their face obscured by shadows. The jarring reality shifted the momentum of hope into a sharp spike of fear. "Stay close," Jake instructed Evan, the urgency in his voice lending weight to the moment. He felt a flicker of protective instinct unfurling within him, guiding his actions. Uncertainty clouded him, but he had to focus. This was no time for doubt. The stranger moved towards them, shaking off droplets of water, each resolute step echoing within the cafe's chaos. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of déjà vu, as if he had seen this person in his dreams, either as a savior or an omen. "Jake Smith," the figure rasped, voice gravelly as if carved from the storm itself. Surprised, Jake nodded. "Yeah, that's me. Who are you?" "Name's Ryan. We need to talk about Lily," he said, eyeing Evan warily before locking onto Jake.
The charged atmosphere around them shifted palpably, like static before lightning strikes. Jake felt a rush of vindication and dread all at once. This was the moment he'd been waiting for, yet the ambiguity in Ryan's expression sent alarm bells ringing in his head. "What do you know?" Ryan lowered his voice, urgency threaded through every syllable. "You shouldn't be looking for her. It's deeper than you think. Dangerous people are involved." "What do you mean?" Jake challenged, adrenaline flooding his veins. "I have to find her." Evan shifted beside him, his eyes darting between the two men. They were on the brink of an alliance, but Jake now felt a riptide of hesitation surfacing. "I know what she was mixed up in," Ryan continued, forcing Jake to confront the reality that Lily had possibly crossed lines he couldn't comprehend. "She's in way over her head, and if you go searching, you might not come back." Evan's expression mirrored Jake's rising frustration. "You can't just drop that and walk away. You've got to give us something we can use." "Fine." Ryan's steel resolve crumbled slightly as he leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "I know she was last seen at that warehouse, but she was with a group that doesn't play nice. You don't stir the pot lightly with them." The news hit Jake like a fist to the gut. Every protective instinct surged to the forefront, igniting a fierce determination within him. "I don't care what I'm up against. I have to find her, whatever it takes." Ryan studied him for a moment, wariness etched deep on his face. "You think you're ready for those whatever-it-takes moments?" "More than ever," Jake asserted, even as the tremor of doubt lingered in the corners of his mind. Gathering his courage, he added, "We can't just let fear dictate our choices. If Lily's there, I'm going." Ryan sighed, a heady mix of resignation and respect. "Then take me with you. You'll need someone who knows the territory, but you have to listen. They won't hesitate to take you out if they sense weakness." The notion of partnership felt daunting, yet exhilarating. Together, they could bolster their collective resolve, carving paths invisible in solitude. Jake reached for Evan's arm, drawing him closer. "What do you think? Are you in?" "I'm all in," Evan replied, his voice resonating with newfound conviction. "If there's a chance to help Lily, we can't back down." Jake felt a swell of camaraderie, a quickening of purpose flooding through him, yet another layer of responsibility settled over him. The bond they were forming needed to be invincible. No room for second-guessing, no room for vulnerability. They were standing on the brink of a precipice neither of them had anticipated, but together they faced a terror that felt tangible. "All right, we leave at dawn," Jake commanded, his resolve hardening. "No backing down." The rain outside began to lighten, an unintended metaphor for their uncertain ascent into danger.
As the lit ambience of the cafe faded, so did any vision of safety. They were walking into the dark, but the prospect of finding Lily fortified each man's purpose. Then, just as they sharpened their focus, the door swung open again. bringing with it another figure, a familiar face with an unsettling expression etched into the features of someone Jake least expected. In that moment, Jake's determination collided with an avalanche of emotions: fear, vulnerability, hope, and he knew one thing. The deeper they pressed into the night, the more they discovered not just about Lily, but about themselves and the choices they truly stood for. What awaited them on the other side of this storm? As dawn broke over the city, a tentative light filtered through the storm clouds that had enveloped Jake, Evan, and Ryan throughout their stormy night. Each man was shrouded in his own thoughts, heavy with the uncharted territory they were about to traverse. The opaque reality of searching for Lily fundamentally transformed from abstract hopes and dreams into a tangible mission twisted with peril, one that demanded every ounce of courage they could muster. Jake tightened the brim of his hat, centering himself amidst the frenzy of uncertainty swirling around their plan. The world that was once painted in broad strokes of affection and innocence now unveiled itself as a complex scheme of dark histories and dangerous associations. Yet beneath the clouds, a burning resolve ignited within him. He knew with unwavering clarity that he was not just seeking to bring Lily home, he was fortifying his identity. As the three gathered at the cafe's entrance, Jake felt an unusual bond forming among them, a true camaraderie rooted in mutual commitment and fervor. In the depths of uncertainty, vulnerability had transformed into strength. Each companion brought with them fragments of a larger puzzle, unlocking insights about the intricacies of Lily's world that were richer than he had ever imagined. "Stick close to me and follow my lead," Ryan instructed, embodying a protective cadence marked by both experience and urgency. "Trust your instincts, and if something feels off, we move. No hesitation." Jake's heart raced, emboldened by Ryan's definition of trust, which resonated with the very essence of his own journey. "I've never backed down from a fight, and I won't start now," he declared, his voice laced with newfound confidence. The commitment to not only rescue Lily but also to confront his fears rang clear. He would not fall back into the shadows of doubt from which he had emerged. Evan looked to the veterans with a mix of apprehension and determination. "Whatever threats we face, we tackle them together. We're stronger this way," he affirmed, solidifying their unity as they stepped on the path ahead. The burgeoning sunlight cast long shadows against the pavement, foreshadowing the complexities of the task awaiting them.
Jake felt a clarion call echoing through his core. The dust of his ranch was melding with the grit of the city, a powerful reminder of who he was and who he had to become. As they approached the warehouse, a looming structure filled with whispers of danger and heartache, Jake channeled energy into his purpose. The tension in his limbs hummed with anticipation. He was a blend of the cowboy raised on open plains and a man ready to confront the perils of the unknown. "There it is," Ryan gestured toward the silhouette against the morning light, the abandoned warehouse pulsating like a dark heart in the distance. "It's where the information leads." Jake inhaled deeply, steeling himself for whatever lay ahead. "No matter what happens, we face it together. I promise I'll find her." With the weight of resolve anchoring them, they advanced toward the entrance of the warehouse. "Remember, trust each other and watch your backs," Ryan reminded them, flicking glances around the looming structure as they made their approach. Inside, the atmosphere thickened with a combination of dust motes and unvoiced fears. The cavernous interior echoed with the sounds of their footsteps, filling the emptiness with a symphony of anticipation. For the first time since his journey began, Jake felt like he was more than a man looking for someone to reignite his past. He was an active participant in a narrative larger than himself. Each step unveiled layers of his character. Vulnerability transformed into an unyielding strength, fear reconstructed as courage, and a willingness to embrace connectivity that had eluded him until now. "Jake!" Evan's voice pierced through the silence, pulling Jake from his introspection. He turned to see Evan glancing toward a shadowy corner, the glint of metal catching the light for an instant, and unexpected danger lurking in the periphery. "Stay alert," Ryan cautioned, as they edged toward that elusive corner, instincts heightened. Jake felt the undercurrent of tension electrifying the air, and a sense of readiness anchored him. They were staring not just into the darkness of the warehouse, but into the uncertain depths of their own hearts, each corner carrying the weight of potential revelation. Suddenly, a voice emerged from the shadows, a familiar voice he hadn't thought he would hear again. "Lily?" His heart leapt at the sound, but the stirring of hope quickly entwined with caution. "Lily?" He
He stepped forward, the words escaping like a prayer into the hollow space. The figure slowly stepped into the dim light, revealing the sun-kissed features that had haunted his dreams, yet were marred with shadows of pain. "What are you doing here?" A moment of shock rippled through him, but the unwavering love he felt spilled into the surrounding silence. With the enormity of the moment encapsulating them, Jake felt all uncertainty wash away, replaced instead by purpose. "I came to bring you home," he stated, voice steady and firm.
Around them, the air crackled with potential, lives intertwined in a tapestry of triumph and heartache. Time slowed as the truth hung suspended, a reflection of Jake's personal transformation. The quest was about more than just rescue. It was a confrontation with the depths of who he was and the man he had evolved into amidst trials. "Home? It's not that simple," Lily began. But as she stepped closer, Jake recognized the flicker of hope in her gaze, the yearning for connection that mirrored his own. "Together, we'll face whatever it is. You won't have to fight alone," he assured her, a vow echoing with conviction. With each stride toward her, he felt his resolve solidify, a reciprocal embrace of courage forming amidst the complexities they would have to face together. In that moment, Jake understood that there were no guarantees, only the promise that true love transcends silence and darkness. They had until sundown to rediscover who they were. This reunion, woven with desperation, unfolded amidst challenges and anchored in profound trust. But the storm was yet to breach its peak. The shadows held secrets still yet to be unveiled. Would he be able to navigate the uncertainties ahead, not just for Lily, but also for the man he had fought to become? As they locked eyes, a spark ignited. Together, they would uncover the layers of truth that would redefine their story. They were no longer defined by the weight of the past. They were forging a path towards fulfillment, ready to confront a future rewritten by resilience and love. Now was the moment for action, not just as Jake and Lily, but as a united front, ready to embrace the inevitable storm and emerge into the light of their own evolution. This was not just about rescue. It was a journey of reclamation, a solid stepping into their shared narrative, one that embodied hope, trust, and the unwavering belief that they could conquer the shadows together. And in that shared moment of connection, he realized something crucial. Their adventure was rebirthing hope in its purest form, a bond intertwined with purpose, demanding action. Jake McAllister was ready to step into the unknown. Now it was time for you to step out of your comfort zone. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. True fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of these actions.